Newcastle won, West Ham won. I have to go as far as saying I think that was the performance of the season so far. Really, really, really good. The first minute aside, the first minute we'll talk about in a second, that was horrendous. But my word, what a performance from West Ham overall. And something that I think that it wasn't just about necessarily the actual performance in terms of our ability on the ball and the things that we did, and that it was just the togetherness, the feeling of a team that was united. It really felt like West Ham have felt like they were coming together. The players, the manager, the fans. It just felt very, very united, and something that we've all missed desperately this season. I was just thrilled with it. I can't believe it, really. I mean, let's go back to the beginning of the game then. We knew the importance. We talked about it in the preview. This was a really big test for David Moyes on the side to show that we were turning a corner this season, that things were starting to get back on track. And there was a lot of people saying, well, you know, we beat Everton, so what? And we beat Derby beforehand because games we expected to win. Arguably had a point, but like I'd said in the preview, that they're the games that were put in front of them, you know, in David Moyes and us. You know, you can't have a go about that. And I thought we did very well in both of those games. But Newcastle was a big test. Let's make no mistake that Newcastle away is one of the toughest fixtures this season. They're that good. They've been really, really good this season. Very, very hard team to play against, home and away, but especially at home. You only have to look at the beforehand, you know, the build up to the match beforehand. Looking at the fans, you know, the Newcastle fans, it was like a carnival. They had the flags out. Everyone was very excited. They've just got to a League Cup final. This was going to be a very, very tough game. I watched it on the telly. I wasn't at the ground, but I remember the commentator saying West Ham are going to have to deal with this atmosphere today. And we did. I mean, because the match started and we were behind within seconds. Shocking, you know, start to the game. We were just asleep. I don't know what was going on. The ball went out. We could all see it went out. And when they scored, but West Ham just switched off and sort of let the Willock take the shot. He fired it beyond Fabianski. I thought it was poor at that moment. He just sort of on his knees and he was never going to get there. Just a really bad start, and I just couldn't believe it. But obviously delighted and well, delighted is not the right word. I'd say relieved it was chalked off, although I kind of knew it would be. And then, well, I don't know what happened. It was within 10 seconds later, you know, they actually scored. Callum Wilson, the surprise. Callum Wilson goes and scores again against West Ham. And I mean, I was so deflated, angry. And at that point, I remember saying to myself, I said to my missus who was with me, I said, that's David Moyes gone. I think this will be David Moyes' last game today. If this is, because I could just see a hammering. I just thought, my God, we're going to just get ripped to shreds here. Newcastle were bouncing. Stadium was bouncing. They must have just been thinking this is going to be a breeze. And I don't blame them. That's how I was looking at it. I'm sure every West Ham fan would join me and say, you know, there was no one I don't think would have been confident. I was getting messages through my phones from many friends and saying about many friends. Sorry, I say they're going. No, a couple of people that I know. Most, and one of them will be my dad probably. So yeah, no, it was, you know, just saying that, you know, what a disastrous start and, you know, what a nightmare this is going to be. And I had to agree. It was terrible. And then, but West Ham didn't buckle. We didn't collapse. I can't believe it. I mean, it really was a stunning turn of events. It was something I just didn't see happening. West Ham, if anything, just went, no, it doesn't matter, but we're gonna crack on, and we really did. I thought that Declan Rice was exceptional. I thought he was not only brilliant as a performer once again, but his leadership was very much there for all to see. He was very much, you know, rolled his sleeves up and played well, and it just, I don't know, it just sent off a message to the rest of the players. You know, everyone seemed to just buy into it, and it was excellent, an excellent performance. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching when West Ham really started to get the grips of the game. And what I loved about it was, one, not only that we didn't buckle, which was obviously excellent to see, but it's the fact that we actually turned the game and we turned the crowd. I mean, Newcastle, after about 20 minutes or so, thinking, we're second best here now. West Ham have been much better. We were much better than them in the first half. Much, much better. Fully deserved a goal. I mean, and it came, you know, the half-hour mark through Lucas Paqueta from a corner as well, a set piece, and we scored a goal. It just felt like a huge relief, but so deserved, just deserved. We deserved that goal. And dare I say it, I thought we were going to go and win the game. I really did. But the character on display from West Ham was exceptional. Really, really excellent. I just felt that for a side, that are down the bottom, struggling, playing a side that are top four chasing, sitting third in the Premier League. They're in a League Cup final. As I say, a carnival atmosphere in Newcastle before the game from their fans. For West Ham to deal with that and deal with it in such a manner was just excellent. Really, really excellent. I'm hats off to David Moyes. I mean, I've criticised him enough on this programme, the channel. We all have. I think, with the podcast with Dave and X, there was many question marks. That's been a constant debate with David Moyes' future. Don't get me wrong, it's not to say that he's now completely out of the woods and it's all fine, but that was a big step forward. That was a real show of character. And what I loved about it, it felt like the players are behind the manager. It felt like the fans are behind the manager, and the manager it was all united. It was a lovely feeling of we're going in the right direction. This season is starting to turn around. That's how I saw it. I don't want to get ahead of myself and think, well, that's it now, we're going to go flying. But it really did feel like a turning point now. It feels like a corner is being turned. And I'm just delighted, absolutely thrilled with it. I've listed a few things that are players I want to mention. Naya Forgerd, I have to talk about. We're going to do a separate video about him. I mean, in terms of what he brings to West Ham and what I believe his future role is going to be at the club. But my word, what an exceptional performance from him. What a player. I mean, really, really starting to look like, I would go as far as saying, one of the best central defenders in the league. It really, really, really quality. I mean, we're going to struggle to keep him. He's that good. It's not going to be long before the big clubs are going, wow, he is someone very, very, very special. But forget all that. Who cares? He's a West Ham player. He's on a long-term contract, and I'm thrilled with him. I thought he was exceptional. There's obviously the challenge he made when Callum Wilson broke through in the second half. I mean, it had to be mentioned, didn't it? I can't talk about Naya Forgerd without mentioning that tackle. I mean, that was exceptionally good. Very, very good tackle from him, and just the pace. He's composure. He just seems so assured. He doesn't seem to panic. He doesn't make any silly, rash decisions. He just seems to be very assured of what he's doing, and makes things that are so difficult, look like nothing, like easy. Just deals with things, and I'm thrilled with him. Thrilled. Angelo Bonner, someone mentioned it to me on Twitter. They were right to mention it to me because I didn't mention him in the post match, and I have to say he was brilliant. He really does seem to be. He's like his injury days are starting to. Oh no, touch wood. I don't mean like that, but I mean in terms of the previous injury, feels like he's just getting back to form now and looking the player he was before that, which is just so brilliant to see. He was excellent. I would go as far as saying as well, I thought it was Lucas Paqueta's best game in a claret and blue shirt. He was excellent, really good. He really seems to be settling into that deeper role now with Declan. And just amazing performance from him. Looked very, very good and worked so hard, so hard. And lovely to see him get a goal. That would do him, the world of good, heading into the next fixtures. And I'm just thrilled with him. And yeah, really, really good. Declan Rice, there's rarely a game when Declan plays where you don't say, "Wow, he was brilliant," but he was really, really good. Really, like I said, his leadership was brilliant, but overall gameplay was quite something. Again, just a Rolls Royce of a player, and someone we're going to dearly miss when he does depart. It looks like that's going to happen. But it is one of those things, let's not dwell on that. Let's dwell on the positives, because that's what we want to talk about. That was a really very, very good performance. A couple of players as well that I felt that really do deserve praise from that. Starting with Vladimir Coufal. I actually found that to be a Coufal performance from when we signed him. Really aggressive. He was getting stuck in. He wanted the ball. He was making things happen. That wing back role really suits him. He's better than that, than just defending. Getting forward really suits his gameplay well. I love this new setup of West Ham. I like the back three and the wing backs. It just works. And David Moyes is reverted back to this system, and it just works well for West Ham. Playing the counter, playing that kind of, we absorb the pressure and we then take the games to them when we do get possession quickly. It just works. It just proves it. David Moyes, he's been trying all season this whole, we want to try a possession-based game. We're trying to change. We don't want to be too predictable. Look, stick to something that works. And he's gone back to this formation, this system. It's just clicking already. You can see it is. It's much, much better. And Newcastle struggled to break us down. They really did. I mean, they had a couple of chances, don't get me wrong, but ultimately I felt, but on the face of it, I'd say draw was the best. The fair result. I do think Newcastle probably did deserve something out of the game, although it could have gone either way. I did feel, and they were obviously like every West Ham fan, I was sitting there with my fingers crossed thinking, look, I was thinking, just don't lose. Please don't lose. Please don't lose. But there was a little part of me thinking we could nick this, we really could. But it didn't happen, but I'm more than happy to walk away with a point from St James's Park, especially with where they are in the league. As I say, just before I wrap up in terms of the players, one more I had to give a mention to was Emerson. He's really, really adapting well to that wing-back position. That is his position. It works so much better. He's far better getting forward. Like Soufal, he just seems to suit him getting forward a bit more. He's been excellent recently, starting to look a very good player. And I mean, it's just a very, I don't know whether it's a relief, whether it's an excitement. I wouldn't say it's much excitement, but just a feeling of, we feel like we're starting to get back on track, West Ham. We're actually looking like a decent side. It reminds me when David Moyes first came, when he came back to the club, and then we went on a good run with him in the season when he kept us up. I remember that feeling of like we're becoming difficult to beat now. We're a difficult side. No one really knows how to beat West Ham. They're hard. You're going to have to beat your very best to beat West Ham. That's almost like we're going back into that realm now. Like I feel like every team, we've got Chelsea coming up. I can't imagine they're rubbing their hands together thinking this is, they must be thinking we're going to have to be very, very good to beat West Ham today. And that's where we want to be. I think once you can start becoming a side that's difficult to beat, then you've got every chance of getting results. And that's where we're starting to become, Newcastle really did struggle to break us down. People will say, and there's always some that will say, well, Newcastle had some injuries. They had to cut, their midfielder, Gomes was out and all these kind of things. Hang on. Like, West Ham were missing Zuma. West Ham were missing Skamaka. West Ham were missing Corner. We're missing some key players. Danny Ings has only just come back from injury. We've Dawson's just been sold. It's not as if we're, blessed with loads of players and loads of options. We're pretty limited at times as well. So I don't agree with that. That was a really, really hard game. And Newcastle didn't, they didn't underestimate us at all. I thought they played well, Newcastle. They just struggled to break us down. We were well organised, well drilled. We were excellent in possession. And just an all-round excellent performance. I was just really, really pleased. And I don't think there was one performer out there one player out there that performed badly. I really don't. I don't think there's anyone that put in a bad shift. I thought they all worked really well. Ben Rama was very good again, very dangerous. I was really, really pleased. And I suppose a key factor of it all, you have to say, and I've sort of mentioned it already, is playing for the manager. That's something I highlighted on the channel a while ago about something, and we talked about it. Dave and X had talked about it on the podcast. Has he lost the dressing room? I really felt that he'd lost it. It did feel like the players just weren't responding. Just feels like there's a bit of coming together recently. There's a bit of united front coming at West Ham. It really does feel good. You could see that they were working really hard. It's nice to see Moyes praising the players, praising Paqueta, praising these, just giving everyone a bit of a boost. It was just a feel-good day for West Ham and something we've really wanted to see. The proof was in the pudding. I always use that bloody phrase, but it is. And that was it. I said, go and demonstrate it then. Come on, West Ham, go and show what you can do. This is a very tough game. Obviously, the first minute, I thought, oh my God, well, that is that. Then West Ham are going to have to get rid of the manager if this is going to be the manner in which we go about it. But we just turned it around and it was excellent. Hard to beat now. And now we've got Chelsea coming up next Saturday. Huge game, massive, massive game for West Ham. And one really, dare I say it, we're going with a bit of confidence now. We're going feeling good about it and thinking, you know what, I fancy us. And I really do. I really do at the moment. I look at that performance. I look at Chelsea at the moment. I watched them against Fulham. Wasn't overly impressed again. I don't think they were that great. They've got some quality players. There's no denying that. I mean, we know that. They've always had that for many years now. Players that can just do something, make the difference. That's something we've always got to be a bit wary of when you play these sides. But ultimately, they don't really look like a team. They're struggling to look like they have a system. They look a little bit lost. I just think that's the perfect opportunity for West Ham. You look at this game and think, well, let's do it, because if West Ham if we can get the 3 points against Chelsea, leading into the game against Tottenham, which we all know West Ham always raise that game for Spurs. I don't think I've ever known West Ham never to raise a game against Tottenham. If you can beat Chelsea and then go into that game, you'd really start. I dare I say, we start looking up. We really can start looking up the table and thinking, where can we finish? Where can we go? What's our goals now? And stop worrying about behind us because. And I know that's going to sound a little bit far-fetched because we are still right down the bottom. We're still, and let's be honest, a defeat against Chelsea And then particularly against Tottenham, we could be in the bottom three. I know that. Well, against Chelsea, we could be in the bottom three. But it's the manner in which we're playing. It's not so much the results. I'm thinking about the way we're playing. We're looking like a good side all of a sudden. We're looking decent. It's looking like things are clicking. I fancy us against Chelsea. I really do. I'm really optimistic. And I know that could come and bite me in the arse, and people are going to say, I'm not being fickle. I just think that I'm really pleased with how this year is going so far. We talked about 2022. We talked about how poor that year was for West Ham domestically. Europe, we did quite pretty well, aside from the semi-final, but in Europa League. But in Europe side, domestically, we were very poor throughout the whole year, really. But if you're willing to criticise, you got to praise as well. Look at 2023. We've played 6 matches so far. We've lost one game and won 3 and drawn 2. I think it's brilliant. Really, really good. Very impressive West Ham at the moment. Very excited. I don't say excited. Very optimistic. I've got a bit of optimism about me. I'm starting to think, you know what? Maybe this isn't going to be all doom and gloom this season. Maybe we can turn this. Maybe this actually could be a season. Don't get me wrong. We're not going to achieve the goals I think we wanted. I think top 6 and all these things are long gone for us. But we could certainly start thinking about top half. I think we can start having a bit of a target and thinking we could do it. We could do it. We've got the team to do it. We've got enough games to do it. Because now we're starting to play well against sides that are good and decent. You know what I mean? You look at the likes of Spurs away. You're thinking, no, we can go and give them a game. We're showing that we can. We got, as I've just said, we've got Chelsea at home. Go on, I fancy us. I fancy against them. I really do. I mean, there's only a couple of teams you probably think, maybe the Arsenals. You think, blimey, it's going to be tough. But most of the games now, I've got a bit of a, if we play in that manner, if we play like we have been, and heaven forbid, no more disastrous injuries or anything like that, then you start fancying West Ham. You start thinking this is a good side. I mean, yeah, it's all good. I'm really, really pleased. And, onwards and upwards. Let's see how we get on. But Chelsea, yeah, it's there for the taking.